the ancestor of the Zhou Dynasty, was Hu Ji, whose given name was Qi. His mother was Zhang Yuan, a woman of the Yu clan and the principal wife of Emperor Ke. One day, Zhang Yuan went to the countryside and saw the footprint of a giant. Feeling delighted, she stepped on it. Immediately she felt a movement in her body as if she were pregnant. A year later, she gave birth to a child. Believing him to be inauspicious, she abandoned him in an alley, but passing horses and cattle avoided stepping on him. She then left him in a forest, only to find it crowded with people, so she moved him elsewhere. She laid him on the ice of a convoy. Birds came and covered him with their wings, using their bodies as a cushion. Zhang Yuan thought the child was extraordinary, so she took him back and raised him. Since she had initially wanted to abandon him, she named him Qi, meaning abandoned. When Qi was a child, he had lofty aspirations like a great man. In his games, he loved planting hemp and beans, and the plants he grew were always lush and prosperous. When he grew up, he developed a passion for farming. He observed the quality of the land, selected suitable plots for growing crops, and the common people followed his example. When Emperor Yao heard of this, he appointed Qi as the agricultural instructor. People all over the world benefited from his work, and he made great contributions. Emperor Shun said, Qi, the people once suffered from hunger. You shall be Hu Ji and sell all kinds of grains. Thus, Qi was envy-fed in Tai, titled Hu Ji, and his clan adopted Ji as their surname. Hu Ji's lineage rose to prominence during the reigns of Yao, Shun, and Yu of the Zhou Dynasty, and all members of this clan were known for their virtuous conduct. After Hu Ji passed away, his son Biyuzhu succeeded him. In Biyuzhu's later years, the Zhou Dynasty's governance declined. They abolished the position of Hu Ji and no longer valued agriculture. Biyuzhu, having lost his official position, fled to the lands of the Rongandi tribe. After Biyuzhu's death, his son Zhu succeeded him. Zhu was followed by his son Gongli. Though living among the Rongandi, Gongli revived Hu Ji's legacy, dedicated himself to farming, and chose crops based on the actual conditions of the land. He crossed the Wei River via the Qi and Zhu rivers, cut wood for use, ensured travelers had provisions and families had savings, and the people lived happily under his care. Grateful, many people migrated to join him. The prosperity of the Zhou dynasty's governing principles began at this time, so poets composed poems and music to commemorate his virtues. After Gongliu's death, his son King Ji succeeded him and established the state in Bin. King Ji was succeeded by his son Huangpu, who was followed by Chafu, Hu Yu Gongfei, Yu Gongshu's Yu Lei, and finally Gu Gongdanfu. Gu Gongdanfu continued the legacies of Hu Ji and Gongliu, accumulated virtue, and practiced benevolence and righteousness, winning the support of his people. When the Rongandi tribes, such as Sun Yu, attacked to plunder wealth, Gu Gong gave them the treasures. Soon after they attacked again, this time demanding land and people. The people were furious and wanted to fight back, but Gu Gong said, the people support their ruler to gain benefits. Now the Rongandi attack to seize land and people. What difference does it make whether the people are ruled by me or by them? It is because of me that they would go to war. I cannot bear to secure my throne by sacrificing other people's fathers and sons. So Gu Gong and his followers left Bin, crossed the Qi and Zhu rivers, climbed over Mount Luoyang, and settled at the foot of Mount Qi. The people of Bin, old and young, followed him to Mount Qi and submitted to him again. When people from neighboring states heard of Gu Gong's kindness, many also came to pledge allegiance. Gu Gong then abandoned the customs of the Rongandi, built city walls and houses, established settlements, and set up government offices for the 5 official positions. The people composed poems and music to praise his virtue. Gu Gong had 3 sons, Taibo the eldest, Yuzong the second, and Jili the youngest, born to Taizhao. Jili married Tairen, and both Taizhong and Tairen were virtuous wives. Tairen gave birth to Chang, and there were auspicious signs indicating Chang's sagehood. Gu Gong said, someone in my descendants will accomplish great things, and it will probably be Chang. Knowing that Gu Gong intended to make Jili his heir so that the throne would pass to Chang, Taibo and Yuzong fled to the Jingman region. They tattooed their bodies and cut their hair short to renounce their claim to the throne in favor of Jili. After Gu Gong's death, Jili succeeded him, known as Duke Zhou. He upheld Gu Gong's governing principles, steadfastly practiced benevolence and righteousness, and all feudal lords submitted to him. Upon Duke Ji's death, his son Chang ascended the throne, known as Shibo the Earl of the West. Later called King Wen, he continued the undertakings of Hu Ji and Gongliu, followed the principles of Gu Gong and Duke Ji, and devoted himself to benevolence and righteousness. He respected the elderly, cared for the young, treated virtuous and capable people with courtesy, and received scholars daily, often forgetting to eat lunch. As a result, numerous scholars came to submit to him. Bo Yi and Shu Qi, from the state of Guzhou, heard that Shibo respected and supported the elderly, so they went to join him. tied Ayan Hongyao, San Yisheng Yuzi, and doctors in Jia also submitted. Shang Hu slandered Shibo in front of King Zhu of Yin, saying, Shibo accumulates virtue and does good deeds, and all feudal lords submit to him. This will be harmful to your majesty. King Zhu then imprisoned Shibo in Yuli. Heng Yao and others were deeply worried. They sought beautiful women from the Yu's Ying clan, colorful horses from Li Rong, 9 carriages from Yu Zhang, and other rare treasures, and presented them to King Zhu through his favorite minister Fei Zong. King Zhu was delighted and said, even one of these things is enough for me to release Shibo, let alone so many. He then pardoned Shibo, awarded him bows, arrows, axes, and battle axes, granting him the power to conquer rebellious states. King Zhu added, it was Chang Hu who slandered you. Shibo then offered the land west of the Wo River to King Zhu and requested the abolition of the powwow torture, a cruel punishment where victims were burned to death on a bronze pillar. King Zhu agreed. Shibo secretly did good deeds, and feudal lords turned to him to settle their dispute. At that time, the states of Yu and Rui had a dispute they could not resolve, so they went to the Zhou. When they entered Zhou territory, they saw farmers yielding field boundaries to each other and the common people taking it as a custom to defer to elders. Before even seeing Shibo, the envoys of Yu and Rui felt ashamed and said to each other, what we are quarreling over is what the people of Zhou disdain. Why should we go any further? We would only humiliate ourselves. They then returned and resolved their dispute by mutual deference. When the feudal lords heard of this, they said, Shibo must be the ruler destined by heaven. And the following year, Shibo attacked the Quanrong tribe. The year after that, he conquered Mise. The next year, he defeated the state of Qin. Yu Yin heard this and was terrified. He reported everything to King Zhu. King Zhu said, "Is not heaven's mandate with me? What can he do to me?" The next year, Shibo attacked the state of Yu. The year after, he attacked Chenghu. Meanwhile, he built the city of Fen and moved the capital from the foot of Mount Qi to Fen. A year later, Shibo passed away, and his crown Prince Afei ascended the throne, known as King. Shibo reigned for approximately 50 years. When he was imprisoned in Yuli, he expanded the 8 trigrams of the I Ching into 60 for hexagram. Poets praised Shibo, and it is believed that he was recognized as the ruler destined by heaven in the year he resolved the dispute between Yu and Rui. 10 years later, Shibo died and was posthumously titled king. He revised laws, established a calendar, and posthumously honored Gugong as Taiwan Grand King and Dukji as Wenji Kingji. It is said that the auspicious signs of becoming king began with Taiwan. When King Wu ascended the throne, Zhang Jia Taigong Wang served as grand tutor. His younger brother and the Duke of Zhou assisted him, and Shaogong and Baigong, among others, supported him in continuing King Wen's legacy. In the 9th year of his reign, King Wu offered sacrifices to King Wen at Bai. He then went east to review his troops, reaching Men Zhaijian. He had a memorial tablet of King Wen made, carried it in a cart, and enshrined it in the army. Calling himself Crown Prince Afei, he declared that he was conducting the expedition under King Wen's order and did not dare to act arbitrarily. He admonished the Minister of War Sima, Minister of Education Si2, Minister of Work Si Kong, and other officials, saying, all of you must be solemn and sincere. I am not wise, but thanks to the virtuous ministers left by my ancestors, I have inherited their cause and established rewards and punishments to consolidate their achievement. Finally, he dispatched his troops. Grand Tutor Shang Fu Zhangzia issued an order, gather your men, board the boats, and those who are late will be beheaded. As King Wu crossed the Yellow River, a white fish jumped into his boat. He bent down, picked it up, and used it for sacrifice. After crossing the river, a ball of fire fell from the sky, landed on the roof of his tent, and transformed into a crow red in color, with a rumbling sound as it descended. At that time, 800 feudal lords arrived at Menjijian for an alliance without prior agreement. They said, it is time to attack King Zhou. King Wu replied, you do not understand heaven's mandate. The time is not yet right. He then led his troops back. 2 years later, King Wu heard that King Zhou had become even more tyrannical. He had killed his crown prince Baigan and imprisoned Jizi. Tai Shi Si and Shao Shi Qiang each fled to Zhou, carrying musical instruments. Only then did King Wu proclaim to the feudal lords, King Zhou of Yin has committed heinous crimes, we must attack him. Leading 300 chariots, 3,000 elite warriors Huben, and 45,000 armored soldiers eastward to attack King Zhou. On the day of Wu in the 12th month of the 11th year, all his troops crossed Menjijian, and the feudal lords gathered. King Wu said, be diligent and never slacken. He then composed the Tai Shi great oath and declared to all. Now King Zhu of Yin listens only to his concubines, cutting himself off from heaven's mandate, going against the movements of the sun moon, and Big Dipper alienating his blood brothers, abandoning his ancestors, music, and using lewd music to corrupt the elegant tunes all to please his concubine. Therefore today I shall respectfully execute heaven's punishment. Strive, warrior. There will be no second chance, let alone a third. And in the early morning of the GOZ day in the second month, King Wu arrived early at Muye, the outskirts of the Shang capital, and held a rally. Holding a yellow battle case in his left hand and a white flag adorned with oxtail in his right, he commanded his troops, saying, "Greetings, warriors from the west. You have endured hardships." He continued, "Ah, lords of my allied states, Minister of War, Minister of Education, Minister of Works, military commanders, company commanders, platoon leaders, and warriors from Yang, Shu, Pyong, Mao, Wei, Lu, Peng, and Pu. Raise your spears, line up your shields, hold your lances high, and swear with me." King Wu said, "The ancients once said, hens do not crow at dawn. If a hen crows at dawn, the household will surely perish." Now King Zhu of Yin obeys whatever his favorite concubines say. He has abandoned ancestral sacrifices, neglected state affairs, and refused to employ his blood relative. Instead, he has gathered criminals and fugitives from all states, honoring, trusting, and appointing them, allowing them to tyrannize the people. As a result, the Shang government is controlled by treacherous and cunning men. Today I shall respectfully carry out heaven's punishment. When we attack you, pause to reorganize your ranks after every 6 or 7 steps. Strive, warriors. Do not strike more than 4, 5, 6, or 7 times before pausing to realign. Strive, warrior. Be as brave and fierce as tigers, bears, jackals, and dragons. We fight the Shang army on the outskirts. Do not harm those who surrender. Let them obey our orders from the west. Strive, warriors. Anyone who does not exert themselves will be executed. After the oath, the allied forces, with 4,000 chariots, formed ranks at Muye. When King Zhou heard that King Wu was attacking him, he dispatched 700,000 troops to resist. King Wu sent Shang Fu with 100 soldiers to challenge the enemy, while leading the main force to assault the Shang army. Though numerous, the Shang soldiers had no will to fight. They all hoped King Wu's army would enter quickly. They turned their weapons around and attacked King Zhu's forces, clearing a path for King Wu. King Wu charged into the city in his chariot, and the Shang army immediately scattered and defected. King Zhu fled back to the city, climbed the deer platform, put on his jade robe, and burned himself to death. King waved a large white flag to command the feudal lords, who paid homage to him. He returned their salutes, and all lords obeyed his order. When he entered the Shang capital, the Shang people waited outside the city to welcome him. King Wu ordered his ministers to tell the people, "Heaven blesses you." The Shang people kowtowed to him, and he respectfully returned their salute. He then went to the place where King Zhu had burnt himself. King Wu shot 3 arrows at the corpse, got off his chariot, stabbed it with a light sword, and finally cut off its head with a yellow battle case, hanging it on the large white flag. He then went to King Zhu's 2 favorite concubines, who had hanged themselves. He shot 3 arrows at their corpses, stabbed them with his sword, cut off their heads with a black battle case, and hung them on small white flags. After this, he left the city and returned to his army. The next day, King Wu ordered the roads cleared in the ancestral temple and King Zhu's palace repaired. On the appointed day, 100 soldiers carried a Han flag at the front. His younger brothers and duo escorted him, and the Changche royal carriage was displayed. The Duke of Shu held a large battle case. Bai Gong held a small one, standing on either side of King Wu. San Yisheng tied iron, and Hong Yao guarded him with swords. King Wu entered the city and stood to the left of the main troops south of the ancestral temple, with his ministers following. Mao Shuzang held sacred water, Wei Tang Shufeng laid out a mat. Shao Gong she held colored silk, and Shen Fu lead the sacrificial animal. Yin Yi read aloud the prayer from a bamboo slip. Zhu, the last descendant of the Yin Dynasty, has abandoned the virtuous ways of his ancestors, insulted the gods, neglected sacrifices, and tyrannized the people. All this is clearly known to the Supreme Heaven. King Wu then kowtowed twice and said, "I have received heaven's mandate to overthrow the Yin Dynasty and accept heaven's glorious decree." He kowtowed twice again and left the city. King Wu envy fed the remaining Shang people to Lu Fu, King Zhu's son. Since the world had just been pacified and was not yet stable, he sent his younger brothers Guan Shuxian and Kai Shudu to assist Lu Fu in governing the Shang survivors. He then ordered Shao Gong to release Jizi from prison, Bai Gong to free the imprisoned people, and honored Shang Rong by decorating his gate to commend his virtue. He commanded Nan Gongkuo to distribute the money accumulated on the deer platform and the grain stored at Chuqiao to relieve the poor. Nan Gongkuo and Shi Yu were ordered to move the 9 cauldrons and jade treasures of the Yin people. Heng Yao was told to repair Bai Dian's tomb. Zongzhou was commanded to offer sacrifices to the spirits of fallen soldiers. King Wu then withdrew his troops and returned west. He inspected the territories of the feudal lords, recorded their governance, and composed Wu Cheng the achievement of martial arts. He fed the lords, awarding them ritual vessels from the Shang ancestral temple, and composed the distribution of Yin's artifacts. Remembering the former sage kings, he rewarded the descendants of Shen Nong, offering them in Zhao, the descendants of Huang Di the Yellow Emperor in Zhou, the descendants of Emperor Yao in Ji, the descendants of Emperor Shun in Chen, and the descendants of Yu the Great in Qin. He then fed his meritorious ministers and advisors, with Sheng Fu being the first to receive a fief. Sheng Fu was fed in Ningqiu, titled Qi. King Wu's younger brother, the Duke of Zhou, was fed in Kufu, titled Lu. Shao Gangshu was fed in Yan. His younger brother Xu Xian was fed in Guan, and Xu Du in Kai. Others were fed in sequence. King Wu summoned the leaders of the 9 provinces, climbed a high hill in Bin, and gazed at the Sheng capital. After returning to Zhou, he could not sleep at night. The Duke of Zhou went to his residence and asked, "Why can you not sleep? Heaven has not accepted the sacrifices of the Yin Dynasty for 60 years, from before I was born until